Hello, fight fans, and welcome to Rugged Rob's Combat Corner, where combat is always king. I'm your host, the one and only Rugged Rob, and I'd like to welcome you to another fine edition of The Corner. And this week we have a very special guest, and on my right, I have a fellow Rochesterian, a real good guy in the boxing game, fairly new. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Fairly new in the boxing world,
in.
6 and 7 years in. And I have TJ Nolan in today. How you doing, TJ?
Good. How are you, Rob?
Good. I'm glad to have you on the program. And I'm just going to let you tell the Combat Corner fans and listeners who TJ Nolan is and what do you do?
Well, TJ Nolan is the co-owner of Rochester Fight Factory Boxing. I started the boxing gym in my garage about 8 years ago. Working with professional fighters. My first professional fighter was Willie Monroe Jr.
And you still work with him?
Still currently work with Willie. I've been the longest member of Team Monroe in his career.
Okay.
Through that, we've worked with various other fighters as well out of Rochester. So that's kind of where we got our starting basis. I kind of did it backwards, right? I started in the professional world versus being an amateur coach versus a pro coach first.
I think it gives you a different look.
Yeah, it does give a different look, but the thing about it was the gentleman that I was working with, the pro fighters, Jamel Tyson, Marcus Hall, Willie Monroe Jr., they knew that I knew my stuff. I boxed from the time I was 8 to 24 years old.
Now, not to cut you off, but you're from Rochester, born and raised.
Born and raised, yeah.
What part?
Brooks Avenue, Thurston Road area, right by the airport.
Oh, West Side.
19th Ward, West Side, yeah.
West Side, okay. I used to live on, they used to call it Bronson Avenue. You may be too young for that.
No, I know Bronson.
Okay, Bronson Avenue, it's a new Madison now, but I was there since the old Madison.
Yeah.
I go way back and I grew up. We moved to Avenue D in Hudson on the east side, so.
My best friend's grandmother lived on Bronson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was her name?
I don't know her name because that was his dad's side, and he would go over there all the time. And
oh, really?
His other grandmother was my next door neighbor, and he actually lived at that house. So
okay.
When he went to Bronson, he was gone for the weekend.
Bronson Ave?
Yeah.
I probably know his father. I'm up there. But anyway, not to get on a water kick. Okay, you're talking about Willie Monroe and then doing things backwards. So you got into the program first.
Yeah.
And then you backed it up and started doing the amateur thing. Now, what was your first step into the amateur game? Like, what gym did you start off with when you started?
My own.
Okay.
Oh, you mean when I fought?
Yeah.
I boxed with Gloria Peak out of Montgomery Boxing Club, who was the 2012 U.S. Olympic coach.
And that was on Bronson, right?
No, that was on Katy Street.
Oh, that was on Katy? Now, they had a gym on, like, near Bronson Ave.
She actually started in her garage over near Madison.
Okay.
And then, actually, she started at St. Martin's. She was a coach at St. Martin's, and they kind of had a fallout, Don Simpkin and Gloria Peak.
Man, Don Simpkin goes way back.
And then she moved from St. Martin's to her garage, and then ran the program through her garage, and then she got a nice opportunity to jump into Montgomery Center over on Katy Street.
Okay.
And that's where her program started taking off, and then that's when I went into the program. So I was one of her. She had a solid group. So I was kind of like the tail end of her original group. And then they had guys like Hector Cruz. Hector Cruz fought Floyd Mayweather. He beat him once and lost to him once in the amateurs. Randall Stevens, who technically made the 1996 Olympic team, but got disqualified because he couldn't pass the urinalysis test. But it is what it is. She still produces quality fighters, and
now you went to her when you were 8 years old.
7 years old.
7 years old. Now you were all the way over on what side of town you were from?
West Side.
The West Side.
Mm-hmm.
You were all the way on the. Well, I guess that makes sense. That makes sense because I used to live around the corner from Katy Street. I had some friends that lived on Katy Street, but when I was growing up, I did not know like how deep Rochester boxing was. I knew like two fighters from Rochester growing up. It was one of the Loving brothers. You remember them?
Yeah.
And Willie Monroe's. I think it's either his uncle or his father.
His uncle. So you got Willie Monroe, Willie the Worm Monroe. You got Willie the Body Rock Monroe, and you got Willie El Mongoose Monroe Jr. Right. So
I think I went to school with Willie Monroe Body Rock, cause
Body Rock is his dad,
okay,
and the Worm is the one that beat Marvin Hagler.
right,
Yeah. So the grandfather had a little brother, Willie the Worm, taught him how to box.
okay,
Then he had his son, Willie the Body Rock,
okay,
taught him how to box. And
okay.
then he taught his grandson, Willie El Mongoose Monroe Jr., how to box as
Man,
a
that's
kid.
deep. I went to junior high with him, and they used to call it Wilson. No, West back in the day.
Wes, yeah, I graduated from Wilson.
Did you?
Which was Wes.
He's the one that kept me out of boxing, and I'll tell you how. You get a sip of water. When I was when we went to school together, in 7th and 8th grade, I was like, I'd say 178 pounds. And he looked at me, he was like, yo, if you box, you probably be boxing grown men. I was like, well, nah, I'm just 12. I don't think I want to box grown men, so I didn't box. I played football. But, yeah, I was a big kid. But I didn't know, if I would have known that you box someone your same age your same age, your same experience, and your same weight, I would have did it. But he was like, yeah, you probably be boxing grown men. And he was no slouch either. He would come in and shadow box and all that. I'm like, nah, that's not me. But that's how far I go back with the Monroes. So you working with Willie Monroe Jr., the Mongoose. And he has a fight coming up, right?
In June.
In June?
We should be back in the ring in June. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple opponents' names on the table. We can't really talk about their names yet, just due to contractual obligations.
Okay.
So we can't put that information out, but expect Willie back into the ring by June.
Okay. And actually, I used to promote amateur fights, and he fought on my card back in 2004. So, yeah, the river runs deep. So let's go back to your career. You fought for Montgomery Center on Katy Street for a while, and now how far did your career go?
Actually, I boxed all the way up until I left for college, and then I had a baseball scholarship to play in college at Genesee Community College. Mm-hmm. So I went there, and then I actually got into some trouble out there, and decided, I got
Genesee Community College out here.
Yeah, towards Batavia.
Right.
So through that, kind of made some changes in my lifestyle, and then decided that I needed to go back and forth from GCC to boxing, and I kind of did that for a little while. And my last fight was in the 2001 Empire State Games. That was the last year they had the 147-pound weight class in amateur boxing, mm-hmm. And I ended up fighting through the tournament, and Jonathan Tubbs worked my corner for the whole tournament, and I worked Jonathan Tubbs' corner for the whole tournament.
Okay.
And I lost in the finals to a kid named Monterey, who he's dead now, but violence in Rochester. But he was ranked number 2 in the country at the time, and that was my first fight back going to college. Mm-hmm. So I had and my first time fighting at 147 because I was a smaller guy. I was fighting at 115 prior to going to college. So
115 and 147.
Yeah, I gained that freshman 50 type of deal. I was drinking a little bit and gained some pounds.
I know the freshman 50. Mine was a freshman 65.
Yeah.
But okay. You fought your last fight, and you got up to the Empire State Games. Now, and you came back, got in a little trouble. To move a little forward, how did you get into the pro game?
Pro game. So I actually went to the military, and I became a combatives instructor for the U.S. Army.
Okay.
And wherever I ended up in the world, I was going to open a gym, regardless, because boxing is an addiction. It's not something like it's not a sport for most people. It's something about boxing keeps drawing you to it.
It's like a culture. It's like every sport has it. There's a boxing culture, there's a amateur wrestling culture, there's a football culture, basketball culture. It's a culture, and you got to get ingrained in that.
Right.
But I understand exactly what you're saying.
So in the military, I actually jumped into what was called the Brigade Games, and I competed in the brigade games. It's almost like a tough man competition, and I ended up winning that.
Now, I mean, because you went in as an open fighter. So can anybody come in?
Anybody could go in. However, I ended up boxing this kid named Alex Shiver, who actually was from New Jersey, and he was an actual boxer himself. And him and I, we had a good contest, and I actually won the fight.
Okay.
And then I was actually going to try out and go for the All-Army boxing team. Well, when I turned in my paperwork and showed my command that, I should be eligible to try out for this team, they told me, you can try out when we come back from Iraq. So we deployed to Iraq. I did 2 straight years over in Iraq, ended up getting hurt, had to have 2 knee surgeries, shoulder rebuilt, and I had a spinal cord injury.
You got caught up in a blast or something?
I was blown up in 7 IEDs over there, yeah.
7?
7. Yeah, did a lot of missions with the, with my team, and then I got moved over to a special forces team. So, excuse me. Through that, we got to do a lot of stuff. A lot of exciting stuff. Looking back, it was fun, but
like stuff you can't really talk about.
It was really.
I don't want this interview to be evidence.
Right. Yeah, no. So
U.S. government, leave me alone.
Let's just say we had a good time, right?
Okay.
So then, I actually got back, and then through the surgeries I had to have, I couldn't go try out for the team. And then shortly after that, I was medically retired from the Army because they were getting ready for their next deployment. I held a high rank in the program there, so they had to make room for that rank because you can only have so many of each rank. That's how you keep the chain of command.
Okay.
So they medically retired me. I got out, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and go pro now. So ran into Willie Monroe Jr., who my uncle worked with. His dad is a trainer, Tony Manella. He was a pro trainer.
You wanted to go pro as a trainer?
As a fighter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it got to the point where Willie and I were actually training together, and the plan was, as far as a marketing scheme, that he was going to be my coach and I was going to be his coach. And through that, we would build our careers.
So you were thinking about marketing schemes way back then?
Oh, yeah.
This was like what, 2000? What?
Like 2010.
Oh, 2010? Okay.
Yeah, like the end of 2010.
All right. Marketing schemes. Well, I wouldn't call them schemes, but marketing plans.
Right.
Marketing strategy.
It's a business.
Let's call it. Yeah.
Right.
You have to have that in the program at this point because right now everything is the internet.
Right.
And I was just watching a video today of one of the Charlo brothers. I think it was Jamel. And he talks like a mile a minute. And I call them the swarm. They're like boxing paparazzi. And they have like good content, but to get their content, it seems like they have to be like right in the mix of things. Like when they have, let's say a press day, they're right in the middle.
It's a way to make noise.
Yeah,
exactly. It's a way to draw attention.
Okay.
And sometimes when you have potential skills with nothing else behind it,
right,
you have to do certain things to get the attention on you to make you more marketable. Because if the market follows you, in reality, that puts asses in seats. Right?
Now, what does that do to the sport, though?
To the sport, it makes it a business, right? So that at that point, it's no longer a sport because professional boxing is probably 90% business, 10% sport, right? And that's why, like these fighters aren't afraid to fight each other. A fighter's gonna fight no matter what, right? Because that's what fighters do.
Right.
It's not anybody ducking anybody, or it's just the business side of stuff isn't right. And
they want to get a fight while it's hot.
Right.
I
and
understand
the majority
that.
of the problem is you get people that have never been in the sport of boxing calling the shots, like just the business side of the guy, some fat old guy that never put on the gloves or been punched in the face in his life. So he feels that he can come out here and tend to control boxing.
But you say that I don't mean that this guy's fat, but what about Al Heyman?
Well,
he's
what?
running boxing right now.
Close to being a monopoly, and some of the things that he actually does is questionable based on ethics, right? Because great guy, right? Great.
You met him?
We're signed with Al.
Are you?
Willie Monroe Jr. We just signed with Al. Yeah.
If you look Al Heyman up, you'll find one picture.
It's the same picture.
It's the same picture.
We didn't even see him at the arena.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
However, he was there, right? He stays in the background. His thing is he does it right, right? In the aspect of he wants to highlight the fighters. The fighters should be in the highlight, in the limelight, right? You got guys like Danny Garcia's dad, who that's their marketing thing. Is the dad is the guy that's in the hype and in the limelight, and Danny Garcia standing next to him,
Right.
And that's
Same
their
thing with
attention drawing.
Robert Guerrero. His father
Correct.
was a firecracker.
Right.
Okay.
But the thing is you want you need the actual fighter to be in the spotlight, right? If you're working with boxers and you're the one trying to be in the limelight, then and you're not the fighter, you're doing it wrong.
I've always wanted to know this in professional boxing. Who do you think, in your opinion, who's making the money on the back end? Who's that group that's able to pay Floyd Mayweather $300 million for a fight?
Well,
it has to come from somewhere.
I can tell you this right now. If you look at, there's a picture floating out there. I think it was after the Manny Pacquiao fight. Floyd Mayweather was holding up a check like this. Read the name on the bottom of the check. You would be surprised on who the name on the bottom of the check was. Take a wild guess without looking at the photo.
The name?
So Pacquiao was a Bob Arum fighter, top rank.
Right.
Floyd Mayweather is a TMT fighter / Al Heyman, because Al Heyman's behind TMT.
Right.
What name do you think wrote that check? Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotions. What the hell is he doing writing that check? And he had no involvement in that fight. It was a top rank card / TMT card.
But doesn't he have a contract?
These guys are all in bed with each other.
Really?
Right? These guys are all
But
in
doesn't De La Hoya or Golden Boy have a some type of agreement, or HBO has an agreement with Pacquiao?
They did, and then Pacquiao kind of messed that up a little bit. He did something.
But during the
Mayweather during that time, yeah.
So,
but that has nothing to do with Golden Boy.
Well, Golden Boy is HBO's. HBO is contracted with them to put on shows, right? Like when you have like a.
So let me run this by you then. So Xerox and Kodak. Let's say they both say, well, we'll give DNC the first crack at any crazy stories that we have coming out of here to put that in the paper, right?
Okay.
That's two separate companies working with a third company. Why should Xerox have to pay for Kodak's article to be written? You know what I'm saying?
I understand that. Well, yeah, it's a business, and you never know.
See, HBO has their own budget for boxing. They have their own budget to put on boxing events. So,
right.
Yeah. So they kick in money.
But they need someone from the boxing world to put on these fights because they can't do it.
Bob Arum is the richest promoter in the world. He's stronger than Al Heyman.
You think?
I know.
Ooh. But Al Heyman gets all the beef about being a monopoly. He's not doing things right.
So I guess it's a battle of ethics at that point. That's what I was going to touch on. So Al Heyman is a manager. He's not a promoter.
Right.
Right. So what Al Heyman did was he went out and he got a bunch of companies to put in a hedge fund of like $300 million or something like that. So he has a pot of money sitting over to the right. So then what he did with some of that money was he went and bought every single TV date that was available in advance on every single network, right?
Yeah, and you can find him anywhere. Bounce,
right? So
nobody has Bounce.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. Well, they had a couple
fights. Slide down. Well, check this out.
What, his fights or what?
We'll get there.
Okay.
So Al Heyman he bought all the TV dates, right? And then what he did was he picked 4 or 5 different promoters that he will only work with, and then he said, "All right, promoters, all your guys are signed to me now if you want these TV dates." So you got Marshall Kaufman, King's Promotion out of Pennsylvania. You got GH3. You got DeBella Promotions. Who's the fourth? Oh, you got TMT and you got About Billions. They all work through Al Heyman. So when the guys like Floyd.
Now, About Billions is an actual promotion?
Yeah, that's Adrian Bronner's.
Yeah, I thought that was just something he did.
That's a legit promotion.
It ain't like Bandcamp.
So here's what he did though, right? So Al Heyman, this is how smart the guy is, right? What he did was he told, like at one point before TMT came out, he told Floyd, if you win this fight, I'll help you start TMT Promotions. And then I'll slide some of my fighters, because he's got like over 500 fighters that are signed to him.
Yeah, everybody calls out Al's name. I
Right.
have to talk to Al before
Right.
yeah.
So what he did was he said, all right, Floyd and AB, when you guys win these fights,
Okay.
we'll help you start your promotional companies, and then I'll slide some of my fighters over to you, and then they'll be under your promotional banner. I'll manage them, and I'll give you TV dates to throw your shows to help you get started, right? So what did he do? He just made it so those promoters are now responsible for paying those guys their purse. Because once you're signed to a promoter, the promoter has to pay, right? So that pay comes from ticket sales, sponsorships. You know, when you see the Corona logo in the middle of the ring or commercials flying by, those are all paid slots to the promoter, and then the network pitches in money. So what happens is now Al Heyman is still, prior to him sliding those fighters over, he was responsible for paying them because they were unpromoted. And he will work it out of that hedge fund money. So now what happens is these guys show up to throw their shows on the network kicks in money. Al Heyman now has two fighters fighting against each other, red corner, blue corner, because you can only be an Al Heyman fighter fighting on Al Heyman shows, which aren't really his shows, which are the 4 promoter shows, or the 5 promoter shows that are throwing the shows.
You know, it kind of sounds like you.
So he's making 15% from this fighter, 15% from this fighter, and all he's doing is paying him out of this hedge fund and then collecting this hedge fund, collecting this 30%. And that's why they're saying it's a monopoly. In ethics, right, in a battle of ethics, should I allow my 2 fighters to box each other as a manager? I should have to pick one side or release one fighter for that fight, or right, you shouldn't be able to match your 2 fighters to box against each other and collect money from both of them. Because then you don't have the fighter's best interest.
But as a manager, you're pretty much you're talking ethics or
There's ethics.
legality.
There's ethics, and then like let's take the New York State Athletic Commission contract, right? And this is somewhere where I'm very familiar. Okay. Let's take the New York State Athletic Commission contract. Okay. You read that contract. It's a pre-written contract that if you're going to sign with a manager in New York State, you have to sign on that contract in front of the commission. If you're going to change anything in that contract, it has to be on an addendum, right? And then approved by the New York State Athletic Commission. So if my license is in New York State and you're a boxer and your license is in New York State, we have to read that contract together, fill it out, and then it can't be signed until we go to the commissioner to witness it and then stamp it, notarize it, right?
Okay.
But in that contract, in that boxer manager contract, it says that I have, as a manager, have to put you in fights that I have the best interests for you in. And if I'm putting you in fights that I don't think you can win, then New York State can jump in without lawyers. If you have a complaint and can prove that, then they can terminate that contract. It's a way for New York State Athletic Commission to protect the fighter and to protect the manager. So they can control that contract and say, you know what, we don't have to go to court. He's got proof you did this. Null and void. And my obligation as a manager is to help you win and guide your career to be successful, not to match you against another guy and say, somebody's got to lose, right? It can't be a draw.
But your guy is in the situation. Willie Monroe is managed by Al Heyman, right?
No. Yeah.
Are you trying to get him out of it?
No, we just got into it. And this is topics that we talked about. So you know, this is topics that we talked about prior to going into this situation.
Okay. Well.
And you got to think, Willie Monroe Jr. versus the Charlo brother is a very realistic fight, and that's actually what they're building towards, right? So we just fought in the Barclays Center 2 months ago. Won that fight. It was not televised. It actually was on the Deontay Wilder Ortiz card.
Yeah, I seen a clip of that.
We fought after them, actually.
Okay.
We fought after the main event. Wasn't televised. We'll be fighting in June against a television-worthy name and a step-up fight. And they're trying to build this Charlo fight in the long run, right? So now at that point, that's where that battle of ethics on our side comes in, right?
Okay. Well, I would like to see that fight.
It's business,
I think,
right? And that's why I say it's 90% business, 10% boxing.
I think Willie Monroe would have an excellent chance with his boxing experience and with his technique and his just athletic ability. I think he'd have an excellent chance. But that's a name that's been chirped around in many different circles. The Charlo brothers at 154 and 160 at middleweight. So, but you know they're making a lot of noise, but they're talking a lot.
And
they
they're
fought
good.
some
They're
good
both
fights.
good fighters.
They're
They
excellent
really
fighters.
are. They're both good fighters, and I think they're just trying to find their niche of what brings them the attention. And I think
They're getting the attention. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, but is that really the truth? Because the fight we were at, he got robbed for $150,000 in jewelry and cash.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess negative attention is attention still. But is he doing it in the best manner? He's sitting there saying, "I'm the king of Brooklyn. I'm the king of New York."
Yeah, and
You're
he
from Texas.
he confronted Daniel Jacobs.
No. Danny Jacobs confronted him, and he
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
say anything. He wasn't loudmouth because he knows Danny's not that dude to mess around with. Danny Jacobs will probably take it to him.
Well, this homeboy did. He said something and just erupted. Danny Jacobs just threw his hand up and just walked off. But let's talk local boxing though.
Local boxing.
Now, Rochester has a strong pedigree of boxing. I've been filming boxing matches. I started like in 2002. Been around for a while, and I've seen a lot of boxers from Rochester come and go. And when I got started, I was here in Buffalo.
Right.
So I get criticized a lot from the Rochester community. You don't think I'd be hearing you, but I do. That I pay a lot of attention to the Buffalo boxers, and the only reason that is because they're here.
Yeah, you're local here. You can't really.
When I first started, I used to go to Rochester all the time. But local boxing, we had a lot of good fighters. One of my favorite fighters, you may know him, was Murray Cunningham. Remember him?
Yeah.
He was slick. I seen him get a couple knockouts. He was one of my favorite fighters. I think he went pro.
Yeah.
Chi went pro.
Yeah.
And all of them were disciples of Charles Murray.
Natural.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Charles is a great fighter. He was a great fighter. Obviously, he doesn't fight anymore.
He's a coach now, right?
He's definitely a coach now, and that's what I was gonna say. Sometimes you get great fighters who try to coach and they just can't do it. It doesn't correlate over. Sometimes you get shitty fighters that turn over and they're great coaches like Freddie Roach. Right? Wasn't the best fighter, but he's a good coach.
No, he was in there.
But Charles is that special pedigree to where he was a great fighter and he's an awesome coach. Charles knows his stuff, and it shows in the styles of everybody that he works with. They come out. And you're going to be in a war if you're fighting somebody with Charles's team.
I've seen fighters that he worked with, and
Chi is probably the hardest punching 126 I've ever met.
Is he still out there?
Yes, he is. He's still out there.
All right.
He's still out there.
I went to a tournament with Chi. It was I think it was the Eastern Regionals or something. It was in I'm thinking maybe Albany, and I went out here with them. Back in 2000, I want to say 2007, 2008. No, it wasn't 2008. I want to say 2006, 2007. Anyway, went out there with them. Back to Rochester boxing. There's been a lot of gyms that have been dominant gyms in Rochester. St. Martin's always been there, and that's.
Don Simpkins.
That's Don Simpkins. Then you had Rock Boxing, but there was another gym before that.
Montgomery Boxing Club.
You got that was I think that was
That was Rock Boxing. Montgomery used to be Rock Boxing.
Okay. Now what happened with them? They used to be. I used to see a lot of stuff on Rock Boxing on Facebook, and then the Fight Factory kind of dominated the show in Rochester. What happened? So somebody got whacked. You squashed somebody out.
So the history behind Rock, real quick. Actually, Ron Resnick, the promoter, took over Montgomery Boxing Club when Coach Gloria Peak moved down south to Virginia to run a program down there. She got a job down there, and she left the non-for-profit to him.
Okay.
And he phased it over into Rock Boxing, kind of tried to give it a new branding, a new name. Turned a lot of the kids that were in there that were the top shelf pro, and that's kind of where I was phasing in and going to college, and that's where Jonathan Tubbs went pro, Alex Cruz went pro, a bunch of guys, Spider-Man went pro out of there, Chi and all those guys, I believe, out of there started pro with Charles and them there too.
I think he was the one doing major shows out at the ballpark.
Right, yes he was, and then what happened was he moved from Lyle Avenue over to Atlantic Avenue where it is. and then turned around and sold it to the current owner, Dominic.
Okay.
His last name's Arioli.
Dominic?
Dom
I think
Arioli. Yeah.
I think we're Facebook friends.
Yep.
But yeah, I know
And
you
then,
got
what happened was we were being seen on TV and stuff with just the pros on multiple levels, ESPN, Showtime, HBO, and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was fielding a lot of calls on my personal phone from a lot of parents, train my kid, and I couldn't bring them to my house, right? Or I didn't feel it was professional to bring to bring the kids to my house to train them. It's just not something that you want to mix, right? You don't want too many people knowing where you live and everything. And,
I understand. Personal with the professional. I got you.
So just you got to draw a line. You know, my family lives there and stuff, and I got to just draw the line. So what I ended up doing was taking a leap of faith, and I pulled in a partner. And my wife and I had purchased all the boxing equipment and stuff, and pulled in a partner that I've known for a very long time, who was just getting into boxing, and he had never coached before in his life. And the reason why I chose him was Conley Sargentin. They call him Coach Q. The reason why I chose him was because I can give him my foundational level of understanding of the sport of boxing. And then we'll always be on the same page. And then at some point he'll have to turn around and continue to grow. And I can help him grow, and then we can pull other mentors in him to learn from. So we did that, and we did an expansion. And then as soon as we opened, we got a flood because I was saving all these numbers and calls, and I just made cold calls. And then people came in. We got a flood of clientele. And the way I hid Conley not really knowing the sport of boxing at that time yet was I wrote a curriculum and created a 3-tier process: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And I separated the group.
So a boxing curriculum.
Yeah, I wrote a boxing curriculum.
Okay.
And which I won't share with anybody.
That's all right. That's all right. Everybody has has their thing.
But everybody knows I share the knowledge.
But from talking to you, and even you saying the word curriculum, I know that you had some type of plan, some type of strategy to get it out there.
Yes, so here's the thing. I'll tell you all that, right, real quick. So wrote the boxing curriculum, and what I did was, or what we decided, I don't like to say I because it's we. I have a tremendous team at the gym. I don't do all this by myself. I have a great team behind us. So what we decided was, we took Q and put him with a bunch of little kids, 7, 8, 9-year-olds that had never boxed, the beginner's class. The parents had never been into the facility or in any boxing facility to understand what was right and what was wrong. So we did a left seat, right seat ride, which is something that I've learned from the military. I'll show you how to do it, and then I'll watch you do it. And it kind of worked, right? And now through that process, our original group, every kid from our original group is ranked in the top 5 in the U.S.
From the original group. Now, it sounds like instead of a boxing club, you actually built a program.
We built a program that I like to refer to as the pirate ship, because boxing is the poor man's sport. It comes with a certain demographic of person that people don't necessarily want involved in their life, right? So I want you to come to my gym if you fit that criteria. If you feel like you're the unwanted, come in. We'll take care of you.
Okay, it's a good philosophy.
So the plan, right?
The plan.
I was going to college at the same time, right? And I have a bachelor's in business. So I actually wrote my business plan as my final project for school. So my college is paid for because my gym is running. It's running great. I own co-owner of Rochester Fight Factory now. I own Power Punch Boxing, which is my pro management stuff. And I'm getting into another couple things that business-wise, and I'm actually getting ready to go back to school for my master's in marketing. Education is key, and I teach these kids that come through the door that sports and athletics is plan B. Because although it's your front runner right now, at some point in time, whether it's old age, whether it's injury, whether it's you can't compete at the next higher level, the skill isn't there to compete at the next higher level.
Well, not to cut you
have
off.
to hang it up, right? At some point in time, sometime it comes to an end, even if it's just due to old age or injuries.
Right.
You hang the gloves up, and then what's your plan?
Let me ask you a quick question. We're friends on Facebook, and I see a lot of your pictures and posts. you have a lot of good fighters that come out of. I mean, that I know. For example, you got Lawrence King that comes through there all the time. You have another 132-pound Saquon Felton that comes through all the time. Now, how did all these top tier guys gravitate toward the Fight Factory?
Well, I can tell you this. There's a gentleman you're very familiar with, Ross Thompson, was good friends with Saquon Felton.
Mm-hmm.
And Ross told Felton to come in and see me. And when he came in, he had just gotten into a lot of trouble. And my thing is with him is, for me and Felton's relationship is forget boxing. I'd like to see him have a great career in boxing,
right,
but I try to show him how to be a more productive citizen, right? He comes from a certain demographic of life, that the street life, that temptation is there to hold you down. The people around you are there to hold you back. Some of them are there as genuine friends, and he's got kids. So every time he walks through my door, I know that whether it's for 1 minute or 2 hours, that he's safe for at least 2 hours. So I kind of treat him like a father-son type of relationship, right? And that's saying real recognize real is the truth, right? Because I come from that cloth too, and I was smart enough to figure it out. And when I see a kid heading down that path, I'd be a fool not to say, you know what, I can try and save that kid or help him understand what the reality of that lifestyle is. Although, people don't see me as a guy that used to be that way. I really was in my younger youth. I used to run around doing stupid stuff, and I'll just put it like this. I used to pay my mom's mortgage at 14 years old, right? So I'll just put it like that. And I just see these kids, right? And I decided to change my lifestyle, and I can influence them in a positive way, to where if I could change one kid, my job is done. But through trying to change one kid, I'll reach many.
All right.
And they feed off that, right? They understand that. Like, for example, I got one of my pro fighters living at my house right now. I helped him get into the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
He fulfilled his obligation in the Navy. Mm-hmm. Him and his wife are moving back, and they're living at my house right now. Mm-hmm. Him, his baby, and his wife, until they get back up on their feet.
Okay.
And that's the kind of, I take the extra step with them.
That's cool.
And that's why they gravitate over to me, because real recognize real. And we're producing good fighters, and we treat them the way they need to be treated.
Now,
success.
You have a background in marketing. You have an official background in marketing, and I'm glad you brought that up. My marketing arm is very strong. I've created many strategies, concepts. Now, how are you trying to market? Let's start with amateur boxing in this region.
So
and how strong is this region?
Believe it or not, our region is very strong, but it's kind of divided, and it's sad because if everybody can get on the same page, we could probably have one of the best regions in boxing, right? We have the knowledgeable coaches, we have the good athletes, but everybody's pride gets in the way, right? And at one point, I've done a lot of reaching out to a lot of people, and if you came to Rochester at the time I was doing that, you would see everybody in there sparring each other from every club, coaches included. And I got a phone call from a gentleman that was involved like 30 years. He just called me out of the blue and was like, "Hey man, I got to congratulate you." I said, "For what?" He goes, "I don't know how you did it, but you did something I've been trying to do for 25 years. And we call him Mike the Creek. And he said, somehow you got every player in boxing to be under the same roof, learning from each other and growing with each other without any conflict." And that was for a couple of years, like 2 years straight. And then kind of people kind of like took a step back from that, and maybe certain things happened to where the chip on their shoulder, maybe a fighter got hit a couple times too much, or maybe you never know what influence somebody to take a step.
I've been around this game for a long time, and it was there from day one.
Yeah.
It was there from day one.
And people don't communicate that, right? They rather just take a step back and just disappear into the dark, and then just go into competition mode against you, which you need competition for this sport, right? But at the same time, when it comes to regional stuff and you're working on making national teams, we're one team, one fight, right?
Right.
And I mean, I've been trying to get onto seeing how I can become one of the Buffalo Golden Glove coaches for a while, and it's just they're not hearing it. And I even said I'm willing to be the guy that carries the spit bucket. I just want to be a part of a great team.
Oh, I got you.
So, it just
Well, yeah, I think relationships take time,
they definitely do.
but we're running out of time. And just based on how you talk and your flow, we're going to take up the most of the time before we get to this. And I want to talk about your fight card.
Right.
April 14th. It's going to be at the Fight Factory. I'm looking at the
It's
box
actually
sheet
going to be
right.
at the Main Street Armory. We got
yeah.
a full arena over there that we're gonna do, and
That y'all got to fill up.
Oh yeah.
Now, that's different. I thought it was going to be at the Fight Factory. I should have read it closer. You're going to be at the Armory, and they hold 3,000?
About 4,000.
4,000 people?
Yeah.
What are the ticket prices?
Ticket prices would be $20 a ticket.
And that's 25 fights that I see here, and that's less than $1 a brawl.
Right.
I'm loving that.
We actually have VIP tables too that'll be fully catered with a full course meal.
Really?
Starter, meal, dessert. Separated ringside. So
How much that run you back?
the table will be $1,500 for a seat of 10. So you get
So all 10 people will get fed.
all 10 people will get fed. There will be chicken French and roast beef for the main course. Cannolis and cookies for the dessert, or eclairs and cookies for the dessert. And then there's an appetizer, like bruschetta bread and stuff like that.
Man, I'm getting hungry. I might cut this early. But let's talk. Let's go over your about sheet, man.
Yeah.
Woo, 1,500, huh? 10 people.
10 people, yeah.
Like, say if I gave you $1,500, I just came by myself. Can I eat for the 10 people?
You get you can eat for the 10 people. It's gonna be a platter that gets delivered to your table.
Okay. All right. $20 general admission. $1,500 for a 10-person table. You get fed. Real good food. They actually have a what do you call them? They actually have a caterer with a menu. I was about to say that. They actually have a menu. Okay, let's look at the bout sheet here. You have about 25 fights here, and I'm looking at some people that I know. Let's go with Alex Castellano out of Victory Boxing Club.
Yeah.
123 pounds. Very exciting. He's got a real good win streak going. He fought for the Buffalo Golden Glove several different times. He represented Buffalo in the Buffalo-Detroit dual meet. Alex Castellano. And looked like you matched him up against an open fighter.
Yep.
From New Jersey.
Dominic Crowder from New Jersey, who's also a really good fighter. He'll be traveling down here to take on Alex, and that fight I'm expecting to be possibly fight of the night. Speaking of that, all our shows are belt shows.
Okay.
Right? So that's one way we like to market.
So everybody gets a belt or just the open fighters?
Well, just no. Every winner gets a belt. We got the second place medal, and then we'll choose. We personally don't choose. I don't allow my team to choose fight of the night and boxer of the night. I have the referees and officials go in a separate area, choose that on their own without any influence. So you'll have boxer of the night win this award, and fight of the night win those two awards. Yeah.
Okay.
The glove. So that may turn into one of the front runners.
So you got the winner that wins the belt.
Yeah.
And then you got the second place. Okay.
medal.
So why the disparity in one guy gets a belt, and the other guy
it
gets
creates competition because you sit the belt here and who doesn't want to win a belt, right? So that belt is going to bring the dog out of these fighters, right? And that's what you want to see.
I never thought about it that way.
Right?
Never thought about it that way.
You can tell them, and sometimes what I like to do is I like to go in the locker room during the fighters meeting and say, you can either win this belt or you can win this medal. It's up to you. If you go in there and do what you're supposed to do, and if you train harder in the gym, because the fight is won in the gym, if you're trying to win this fight, by the time you got to this ring, it's too late. Whoever trains in the gym harder, prepares the best, wins. Hopefully that's you.
Okay.
And that, that brings up the competitive spirit.
All right, let's get another matchup. I see you got Jared Nozowitz.
Yeah, Jared's a hard puncher from Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gonna be fighting against Charles Gardner
from Buffalo.
And Charles has made that national team. And Charles is a young, hungry fighter who is.
He made it two different weight divisions.
Yeah,
141.
I like to compare him to like the Charlo brothers, man, because Charles is a very polite kid, but he ain't gonna let you talk to him in any type of way to where you're putting his back in the corner. He's gonna tell you, if you want to fight, let's put the gloves on. That's one of the reasons why I really like Charles, is because he's not afraid of anybody.
Right.
He's one of those boxers that hits the gym and he works hard and his work ethics is great. And his coach will come to him and say, Charles, we got to fight. And all he cares about is that they got a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs for him to try and go beat on.
I've had him on the show. He's quite the young man. I mean, he has he's brimming with confidence.
And he's fighting for something different. He's I believe Charles lost his mom, right?
Yeah.
Right? He lost his mom, and he takes that into the ring with him.
And he's a new father.
So he's boxing for something different.
Okay.
And his hopes and aspirations is to take this as a full-time career in the pro sport. And I think he'll be very successful, provided he puts the right team behind him and takes his time with it.
Well, he's been with the same coach.
Daryl, Daryl's a great
Daryl
coach.
Graham.
Graham.
Daryl's a good coach. He was also
real good coach.
a good amateur fighter. He has a good team around him. Shows a lot of love. Let's talk about your main event, though. Lawrence King versus Mike Ross.
Yeah, Lawrence King versus Mike Ross. So Lawrence has about probably 190 amateur fights over that. And
I know he was fighting since he was like maybe 10, 11.
Little kid, yeah.
Yeah, he's been around for a while.
And
he may be up to the 300s.
No, he's only got about 190 because he took some time off.
Oh, did he?
There, right?
I know he just took a year off.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Actually, King was supposed to turn pro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he didn't even really want to get into his Golden Gloves. Mm-hmm. And actually, I got him his pro license.
Okay.
But you're not a pro until you step into the ring. Until then, and we decided as a group, because I'm on his coaching team as well. Okay. We decided as a group that prior to him turning pro, he should jump into the gloves. Just because you want to get that rust off, you want to come into the pros off activity, and you want to go out and win that national title. And he will be fighting Mike Ross, who is a great contender. Mike Ross is another one of those rugged guys that, no pun intended, another one of those.
He won the Buffalo Golden Gloves title last year. And King and him just matched up last show on the Golden Gloves, and King was victorious. And I know as a competitor that was eating Mike alive. And he had talked about potentially fighting King on our show prior to that, and King vice versa. These guys have fought. Actually, that was their second time boxing. Yeah. In the gloves. I think I got the first time.
The first one, yeah. I saw the video just the other day. Mm-hmm. And when we left the ring, Mike Ross had mentioned, I want that rematch, and I said, slow down. And for a specific reason, I told him slow down. And you never want to make a decision based off emotions, right? You never want to go out of the ring. And when these guys talk about retirement, right? In the ring, like, what's your next move? Are you going to retire? It's like, you don't make that decision right there on the spot in the ring, right? So Mike, he instantly wanted the rematch because he's a great competitor. And I said, I'll call you in a week.
Okay.
So I called Mike, and he was like, for sure, I thought you was never going to call me back. And he knows I call him back because actually Mike is a sparring partner for Willie Monroe Jr. too.
Okay.
Yeah. And so is King.
And he still wants to fight.
And Mike will come and put on a show. King will come and put on a show. And Not to mention that I think there's a greater cause for this whole thing, for this whole show. We're going to be donating 1/3 of our proceeds to a rehab center that's fighting against opiates and heroin, because it's a big problem in everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I think the last stat I looked at for that in Rochester, they had 35 deaths in 28 days. So it's a big problem. So we want to try and use our show to put a positive note on the community.
And bring awareness.
And bring awareness that there's stuff going on. So who better else to headline the main event than Mike Ross and the Sheriff, Lawrence King.
That's gonna be his name.
I don't know what his name is gonna be, but he's a legit sheriff.
Yeah, he's a legit sheriff. Yeah.
So that speaks volumes right there.
It does. It does with his character and his commitment. I did run across a name that I want to mention. I want to give a shout out to Frank Alanya. I think he's the third.
Yeah.
I filmed his father when his father was an amateur fighter, so I'm excited to see him.
He was a pro fighter too.
Yeah. Actually, he could still go in the ring.
Yeah.
I just want to give him a shout out. I met him the other day. Great kid. His father is sculpting his career, and I can't. I'm going to be there, and I can't wait to see this fight.
That's actually Frank is a rematch with, I think, my kid Hector Mendez, right? Yeah, my kid Hector Mendez.
He said he's fighting Deshaun.
Oh yeah, Deshaun
Griffin.
So Deshaun's first fight, he beat Frank.
Okay.
They rematched a few weeks ago.
Okay.
He lost to Frank. So this is a three-peat right here.
So this is the trilogy.
This is the trilogy.
I get to see the end of the trilogy. I think he posted, like when Decision, he posted that on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be a good fight, and it's April 14th. It's at the
Main Street Armory
in Rochester, New York, my hometown. Yeah. And the proceeds, 1/3 of the proceeds is going to go to ending opiate addiction in Rochester and Monroe County. It's a good cause. It's a good card, and I want to look right in the camera, and I want everybody to support that. April 14th, 2018, in Rochester, New York. When do the bouts start?
Doors open at 4:30. National anthem goes on at 5:30.
Okay.
This will be a televised Facebook Live.
Okay.
So if you can't make it, we're going to have a fighters meeting. We don't get the link for the Facebook Live until hours before the fight.
Okay.
So we'll have a fighters meeting, and then I'll have all the fighters friend request me. I'll post a link on my Facebook page, and then have them share it to their page, and then everybody can see it and then share it. And then on top of that, I have a gift for you. I'm going to give you 4 tickets to the show to give away, and then I'm going to give you 2 tickets for yourself and a guest.
So I got 4 to give away, 2 tickets for a guest and myself?
Yes.
Beautiful. Can I get some interviews?
Yeah, you can get interviews. Bring your stuff, get some interviews, and if you want, it's up to you, man.
I want to get some interviews. I want to just get the ambiance. See how you put on
shirts. If you want to show up to the weigh-ins, you can get interviews at the weigh-ins. What time are weigh-ins? So the weigh-ins are from 11 to 1.
11 to 1.
Yeah. And then we'll go into the officials meeting from 1:30 to however long that takes.
Okay.
Doors will open. Doors will open at 4:30. National anthem goes on at 5.
Okay. That's a good move.
Like I said, it'll be televised. If you can't make it out to the fight, just.
But you want everybody there. I mean, if you can't get there,
we want everybody there mainly because these kids work so hard. I say kids, some of them are adults, but these guys work so hard and they want to showcase their talent in front of their hometown crowd.
And I truly believe if you watch a fight on television, you would enjoy it that much more if you saw it live.
Correct, right? And these guys want to showcase their talents to you, and pull you in as part of the event. Something is to be said about actually attending the show. Right. Don't miss the excitement because there is going to be some exciting fights.
Well, just based on the 3 or 4 that we mentioned, it's going to be a good card. Charles Garner III always puts up a good scrape.
And see, if you look at Javier Mitchell versus Cartier Gilmore, Javi's ranked number 2 in the United States Cartier Gilmore is ranked number 1 in the United States, and these kids are only 9 years old. Javi's a fighter from Rochester Fight Factory, and Cartier Gilmore is from Ohio.
Okay.
And that's a rematch because Cartier beat Javi in the Silver Glove Finals.
Okay.
In a very close fight that was subjective to. It was a very, very close fight that a lot of people thought Javi won the fight, and we'll see what happens on the 14th with that one.
I see Albany's in the house too.
Albany's in the house. You got
Syracuse.
Yep, you got Albany coming in with
Buffalo
they got
real
6
strong.
bouts. Syracuse has a bunch of bouts. You got guys, Coach Sappho coming in from Ohio with 5 bouts. And all these gyms are reputable gyms that produce great fighters. Syracuse, Chris Burns has, a bunch of fighters that are ranked. Ohio has a bunch of fighters that are ranked. So even though these guys are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to Mike Ross's age, what's Mike, 38, you're seeing quality fights from top to bottom.
Okay. Well, I'm loving it. The Fight Factory, and that's pretty much our time. Now, anything else you want to get out there? Like we didn't touch upon a lot of different stuff, and my podcast is only 1 hour. But is there anything that we didn't touch upon that you might want to get out in the next 4 minutes?
Yeah, a little message to all the kids out there. If you're going to participate in the sport of boxing, make sure that you go in there and be 100% committed. B, have nothing but dedication to the sport, and understand that every dog has his day. So don't get discouraged if you walk into the gym and catch a few lumps. Learn from it. Take that as a learning experience, and believe in your coach. Right, your coach should, and I believe your coach will protect you the way he needs to or she needs to nowadays.
We got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Real quick, what makes a good coach? If I'm a parent, what should I look for in a coach?
A good coach is more than just somebody who's knowledgeable about the sport. I think a coach that is going to treat you like his own kid, right? Therefore, you understand that by getting in that ring, anybody's life is on the line. So am I going to stop the fight if it needs to be stopped? Is it going to hurt my pride as a coach if I have to stop that fight?
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop a fight quick if need be, right? Just somebody who gets the kid motivated, or can call a kid if they're missing for 2 days and shows that extra step of, hey, your son has missed or your daughter has missed 2 days. Mm-hmm. How's everything? In my program, I have a minimum. You have to have a 2.7 GPA, and if you drop below that 2.7 GPA in school, then you have to bring your books to practice. And if you miss practice and don't bring your books, then there's another problem that we have to solve. Right. Okay. So it's being more influential in your overall life and not just concerned about the aspects of boxing.
So what I'm getting from you is we need more programs than we need clubs. We need boxing programs instead of boxing clubs. With a boxing program, it seems that you have a plan. With a boxing club, the plan is just to fight. Yeah, just to box. Okay.
And it's very beneficial for people to come up with boxing programs because I always say it takes a community to raise a village. Mm-hmm. If you have a boxing club, you'll have kids coming in and their parents never show up, right? If you have a boxing program, you'll see that everybody becomes fully invested into that program, not only the kids, but the parents, the community.
So are you still taking new boxers?
We always take new boxers. Yeah, we have a beginners, intermediate. We have a 3-tier program: beginners, intermediate, and advanced. We go into 8-week sessions.
Do you have an anti-bullying component?
We don't actually specifically have an anti-bullying component, but we talk about disciplines. We talk about, if you see somebody getting bullied, maybe step in there and say, hey, leave this kid alone, type of stuff. So we talk about all that kind of stuff. You got to
intervene. Kids, if you see something, say something. Somebody getting bullied, say something. That's the worst feeling in the world. Man, that's our time. I wish we had more time. But April 14th in Rochester, New York. You want to go to this boxing show. Fight Factory, Main Street Armory. Show starts at
30.
5:30.
First bout is at 5:30.
Doors open at 4:30. I'm going to try to make it to the weigh-ins. I'm going to do a little something on maybe YouTube or maybe Facebook to see if anybody want to win some tickets. It really sounds like it's going to be a good event, and I love to go to boxing events. So, TJ, thank you very much for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Came all the way from Rochester, New York, my hometown, to Buffalo, New York, to come out and see Rugged Rob and be on the Combat Corner podcast. And with that, I'm out. Guns down, knuckle up. Take it easy.